Hey, I'm Marcus, MPenTech, and today we're going to be looking at building a super sweet gaming PC that's not going to break the bank, but still hits hard with AMD's new Ryzen 3 3300X. For this build, we're going to be looking at putting together something that can tackle most of today's games on the highest setting, 1080p, minimum of 60 frames per second, maybe even some 1440p gaming too. Okay, first we're going to start off with the ASRock B450M motherboard. So in here we've got our SATA cable, but I don't think we'll need that. We've got our IO shielding. We've got our M2 screw. We've got some drivers here, instruction manual. I'll put all these to the side for now. So here we have the motherboard. So we've got our CPU socket there, we've got 2 slots for RAM there, and we've also got our PCIe Express slot, which is where our graphics card is going to go. So first we'll start off with the RAM. So here we've got 2 8GB sticks. So to install these, we start off by pushing apart these things here. So as you can see, these clip in and out. So this is a locking mechanism for the RAM sticks. So we can just put these in like so, push it down until it clicks. Next we'll start with storage. So this is our Intel SSD, which is M2 NVMe 512 gigs. To install that, we put it into this slot here. So you put it in like so, and as you can see, it's quite it's not secured down at the moment. In order to secure it down, we use our screw that we got with our motherboard, which is this tiny screw. It's probably the smallest screw you've ever seen. You just put that in here. And there we have it. We've got our storage installed, we've got our RAM installed. Next we're going to install our CPU. So to do that, we need to first remove these 2 plastic bits here. So 1 and 2. Then we want to lift this lever up here. And then we install the CPU. So with the CPU, what you want to do is look out for that tiny little golden triangle in the corner there. And that's going to match up to the triangle on the motherboard. So there's a little triangle here. And we want to match that up with our little golden triangle on our CPU, like so. And that should fit in quite nicely. And then you just pull this lever down. And boom. Our CPU is installed. Normally you would have to apply thermal paste to your CPU before attaching the heatsink, but when buying a brand new heatsink, it sometimes comes pre-applied, like we have here. So then what we want to do is install our heatsink. So this is the one that came with our CPU, which should be good enough for what we want it for, which is just gaming. If you want to start overclocking, I would recommend upgrading it. You can get a lot of decent coolers now for not very much. For this build, this will do. So what you want to do is install it so that this lead right here can reach the CPU fan header, which is located in this corner over here. So for us, like this should be fine. So let's put this on carefully and line it up. So that goes on our screws there, and we just need to screw this in. So do opposite sides, so corner to corner, Cool. Now our CPU fan is on the CPU, and then we just take this cable here. So I've just flipped the motherboard around, so now our heatsink is on our CPU. So we're just going to plug the CPU fan header, and boom, there we have it. So now we've got a CPU, our RAM and our storage installed. So just moving on to the case now, so I've just unboxed it, and yes, quite a nice case to be fair. For £55 I'm quite surprised. So we've got some decent buttons up there. Yeah, this is going to be that crazy LED infinity front panel. We've got that side there, and this is tempered glass right here. So this case does have a fan inside. Probably have room for adding more fans, but we're not going to be doing that in this video. So next we're going to install the I/O shield. So how we want this to line up is you want it this way, so you've got the fan on top there, and the ports are going to line up like that. So to do that we need to install it from the other side, and we have to kind of push it in. Cool, and we're going to wait until it clicks in all the way and all four sides, like that. Cool, and now our I/O shield is in. Once that's in, we can start to put in the motherboard. So we're just going to line up the motherboard here with the I/O shield. Cool, so now the motherboard is lined up with the I/O shield, as you can see there. So it's lined up nicely. So you should start to notice that the motherboard screw holes are lining up with the case standoffs. Don't worry too much if not all of the standoffs on the case are used, because most cases they fit multiple size motherboards. So this case fits micro ATX and also mini ITX. So there will be spare standoffs. So let's start putting these in. So again, don't tighten all the screws all the way, because we may want to adjust them later. So just lightly put them in for now. Cool, so that's all of our screws in. We can go ahead and tighten them now that they're all aligned. Alright, cool, that's the motherboard in. So next we're going to be installing our power supply. So let's get this opened up here. It's got the manual here. We've got a case bag for it. Some screws there for it, a sticker, and some cable ties. It's quite nice. Got our UK plug adapter. We've got our modular cables. This is a semi-modular CPU. And there we go. Here is the power supply. Just get rid of these. Cool. And here we have the power supply. So let's open this up. And there we have it. So the power supply is going to go in here. Let's just unravel the cables here. I'm just going to feed these through here. Now, let's feed them through this hole. So they're going to be plugged into the motherboard later. And then we're just going to put the power supply in like so. Cool. Nice. So that's in nicely. Now we just need to screw it in. So we're going to be using the hex head screws that came with the case. I believe some also came with a power supply unit, but since these are already open, we may as well use these. So I'm just going to screw these in. So I'm just going to thread them with my fingers a bit first. So once you've got screws all lined up, let's tighten them with a screwdriver. Cool, our power supply is nice and secure. Alright, so now we're going to install all of the cables. So we're going to start here with the motherboard cable. So that's the really big one right here. Just get that in. Yep, that's the wrong way. So put that in right there. There we go, that's installed. Then we're going to install these cables here. Well, just one of them on this motherboard. Into this corner here. So what you want the clip part facing upwards like that. Cool, we'll just move the other one there. So now the motherboard is connected to the power supply. So we've got quite a few more cables to do. So this is one of the chassis fans. So we can plug that in right here. So that plugs into the motherboard like so. So now I'm just going to feed these cables through here. And these are going to be plugging into the motherboard as well. So these are the ones that are coming from the case itself. Cool, so in the corner of our motherboard here, we've got all of our case LEDs. So like the hard drive LED, the power LED, the power button. So these are all explained on these cables here. So what we'll try and group these together so we can just slot them right in. Make sure you line up the positive and negative. Cool, let's put those ones in. Now we can plug in our HD audio one. So this is for the headphone jack on the case. So where does that go on this case? It goes here in this corner over here. Like so. Then we've got our USB 3 cable, which plugs into the motherboard just like that. Yeah, so we can pull some of these at the back to make it slightly tidier. So I'm going to tidy up a bit here before we put the graphics card in. Cool, so now our cables are a bit tidier. So on the case here, we've got these metal panels we just need to pop off, so they just snap off. So just bend them back, then they snap off, like that. So now we've taken off those panels, we need to also unscrew this part here. Now we've got that off, we can install the graphics card. Okay, so now we're going to be installing the graphics card. So we've got a 1660 Super here. So let's open this up. So we need to remove this protective bit here. I'll just slot in, and once you push it in, it makes that click sound, and this clicks back in. So then we can just screw in our graphics card using the 2 screws removed from that panel earlier. Cool, and now our graphics card is secure. Then we need to connect our graphics card to our power supply. This is one of the modular cables we had with our power supply. We can connect this to the graphics card here. So if we can line these up before we put them in, makes it a lot easier. Boom, and then that's in. And we can feed this through to our power supply. So just realized a problem. So now that we've got the power supply in, graphics card is in, we're trying to plug this cable into the graphics card. But as you can see over here, space is quite limited, and we need to get it in over there somewhere. One thing we can do is we can remove these things, because we're not actually using any hard drives or SSDs. We've gone with our M2 drive. It's actually labeled on the power supply in there. I don't know if you can see it, but it does say PCIe, and we need to get it in that one right there. I'm just going to feed it through where the hard drive caddy is. If I'd known that this case would have been like this, I would have probably connected this cable to the power supply before I screwed it in. Okay, yeah, that cable is now in. All right, so I think we just need to plug back in the cable we unplugged earlier. 2 cables. The chassis fan cable and the USB 3 cable. We're gonna have to wrap it around the graphics card there. Cool, that's in, that's back in. We put our USB 3 back in, fit the case ports, and okay. I believe everything's connected. Let's plug it all in and power it on and see if it works. Alright guys, so it's a day later and I've brought the PC up to the office and we're going to test and see if it posts for the first time. So yep, here it is. It's all complete. Since yesterday I have tidied up some of the wires a bit because they were a bit messy, but yeah, that was just needed to be done. So one thing I've noticed about this case is that these feet here, they do seem to leave some black marks on my white desk. So yeah, hopefully that's something that kind of just happens at the start and wears off over time. But yeah, it's kind of annoying, especially for those of us who have white cases. But yeah, I just thought I'd point it out. Let's go try turn this on. So I've plugged it all in, flipped the switch at the back. So yeah, let's do this. Let's see what happens. Okay, so that's good. The fan's on. Alright, so my monitor's doing something. So far so good. Okay, so we've got a blinking gas. Hey! There we have it. So we don't have a Windows USB in just yet, so let's fix that right now and put that in. Okay, so I've put in the Windows 10 USB and I've plugged in a keyboard and mouse. So just let's reboot it now and turn it back on. Hey, so looking promising. So we've got the Windows 10 boot logo coming up. And yeah, here we are. So I'll just go ahead and install Windows. So we've got Windows installed. That looks all good. But as you've probably noticed, there's no RGB. This fan doesn't seem to be working right now. And yeah, there's no infinity LEDs on the front. So let's take a look at that. So after about an hour tinkering around with the case, I couldn't find the issue with the RGB case fans or the RGB lights. So I'm gonna have to get in contact with GameMax and see if there's an issue with our case or with the fan controller and see if they can help in any way. So I'll keep you guys up to date on that. In the meantime, I'm gonna install some games on Steam and we'll try them out and see how they run. Alright, so I've adjusted my monitor so it's only using half of the screen, so that gives us a 27-inch monitor at 2560 by 1440, which is more of a typical setup. I've loaded up Crucible here and I'll just ensure that the settings are on ultra high on everything. So yeah, we've got pretty much everything on high there. I don't think, no, it doesn't go any higher than that. So that's looking all good. Let's jump into this. So far so good. It's looking pretty smooth. So we're getting around 110 frames, 60 frames. So we dropped down 60 frames there. So far so good. I'm really surprised. I mean, I'll be honest, I have no idea what I'm doing here. So we dropped down to 50 there, but I don't really notice it in the game if I'm honest. I mean, this is very respectable. Oh god, what's going on? Who's that? Stop. I think I died. Alright, well, let's go on to the next game. Cool, so let's go into settings. Let's put everything on ultra, see what happens. If your main goal is just gaming, then I think this is a pretty decent bit of kit. So there we go, average frames per second, 59.8. So it is running VSync because I think this monitor is set at 60 Hertz, but I think we can overclock that a bit actually. So I've had this monitor running at a refresh rate of around 80 Hertz before. So let's just test that. Cool, that is looking good. So we've just increased the refresh rate there. Let's see if we can get a better result. Okay, wow. Alright, so we are way past 60 FPS now. We are getting around 80. Alright, so there you have it. Average FPS 90.1, which is pretty decent. And there you have it guys, that's the AMD Ryzen 3 3300X in action. As you can see, it's a very competent CPU, and when paired with a GPU like the GTX 1660 Super, we were able to handle games at 1440p with 60 frames per second and sometimes higher. For £115 or $120, I really couldn't ask for more in a budget CPU. If all you're looking to do is gaming, then look no further. So in total we spent nearly £650 on this build. I also went and found the same parts in US online retailers and the total came to $675. However, I had to find alternatives for the PSU and case. For that price, this is a very respectable build, and the 3300X definitely saved us some money on the CPU, whereas before you would have had to spend around $150 to $200 to achieve the same performance. If you're looking to spend a little bit more, I would probably recommend upgrading the heatsink to get something a little quieter that would also give you more room to overclock. I would also look to upgrade the storage, be it purchase a larger 1TB NVMe drive, or keeping the same as what we have here and adding a slower 2.5-inch SATA SSD. On the flip side, if you're only interested in 1080p gaming, you could step down on the graphics card to a GTX 1650 Super, which would allow you to still hit 60 FPS on most titles and save you around $80. You could also get a cheaper case, and whilst on the subject of the case, I've spoken to the retailer where I bought it from and they said they are going to replace it, however it is on back order for another 2 weeks. Seeing that the fan controller was DOA and the case feet marked my white desk, I really can't recommend this product and would definitely suggest you to buy a different micro ATX case. Anyway, that's it for today guys. If you like this video, hit subscribe, and we're going to be aiming to do one video a week, so stay tuned and thanks for watching.